So I'm showing you now, you see the evidence, the mainstream laboratory articles, written evidence that this technique actually exists, okay? Now, what's interesting is we're walking around and we're claiming that we have no power. We're walking around worried that we're not manifesting. We're walking around worried that we have no ability to create the reality that we want. Meanwhile, in laboratories, they got people remote controlling other people. The CIA has, a project for the hemisync because they want to know how they can tap into realities and create and manifest what they want, the outcomes they want. How can they even utilize that to remote control a person like in the MK Ultra, which they've done? We know that because of the MK Ultra trials, right? So, and if that's the case, why aren't we utilizing these same techniques that already exist in our lives, knowing and seeing how powerful they actually are? We're thinking, I'm not in a laboratory. I don't have a doctor. There's nothing over my motor cortex, or there's no EEG cap on my head. You don't need it. You see, in a laboratory setting, that's used to create a rudimentary type of a technocratic type of a experiment. We already have these gifts without the technology. We're just not tapping into them and utilizing them. First of all, most of us didn't even know they existed. It seems like science fiction or I gotta be a psychic. All a psychic is, a real psychic, not the fake ones, but all a real psychic is somebody that's intuitive to their own natural ability that everyone actually has. They're reading information from light waves cast from the other person's mind. Like I always say, when you think, every thought is leaving your skull. Why does that EEG cap collect information from the guy looking at the computer screen about the video game? Because his thoughts are leaving his mind. They're leaving his skull and going into a device called an EEG. That device is capturing those waves of light with the command code embedded into the actual light wave. It's a light wave that we can't see because humans can only see 1% of the light spectrum. Actually, we can see less than that, but it's encoded in that light wave. That light wave is sent into a computer. And then it's transferred via the internet on fiber optic cables at the speed of light into the other person's mind who's wearing a device over the motor cortex. Now, I will tell you that if we all tapped into our true power, we would be able to do that without having those technical devices attached. That's how powerful the mind is. And to prove that, all you have to do is look at the experiment they did where they took a monkey and they broke his spine, unfortunately. This is the type of experiment I wouldn't approve doing, but they did it. They snapped his spine, and what they did was they put a neural receiver on beneath the broken part of the spinal column that connected to the legs. And then they put a device on the monkey's head. So every time the monkey thought about walking, it took the signal or the light waves with the encoded information, the command code, and transmitted it wirelessly to the receiver at the base of the spine where beneath the break. And it told the legs to move, and the leg walked. Okay? This is how powerful we are. We have the ability to send information into space-time with command codes on it. I wonder if I still have that video in here. Let me just see if I have that video in here real quick in my catalog of videos that I normally show from time to time, because it would be cool if I can just pop it in.
Technology transformed its ability to move. The result of a project by a group of international scientists who were able to bypass the injured part of the animal's spine.
To decode the brain activity is not really new. To stimulate the spinal cord is not really new either, but the association of both, and to make the link between the decoding of the brain and the stimulation of the spinal cord, and to make this communication exist, is completely new.
If you have an injury of the spinal cord, messages from the brain aren't able to reach beyond it down the nervous system, resulting in paralysis. Scientists created a brain-spinal interface on a monkey with a paralysed leg, implanting electrodes onto part of the brain that controlled the limb. The activity and information it recorded showed the movement the monkey intended to make and was sent to a computer. This technology transformed its ability to move, the result of a project by a group of international scientists who were able to bypass the injured part of the animal's spine.
To decode the brain activity is not really new. To decode the brain activity is not really new.
Interesting stuff. So you see, again, the receipts. This is how powerful our minds are. We're sending information into space-time all the time. And the reason why I'm like beating this into you is because I want you to understand. I want you to be able to really grasp this information. Wow, what he's saying is right. Because this science is telling us and showing us and proving to us that we are transmitting command codes. We're transmitting command codes 24/7. Even in our sleep. They have a machine now in Japan. Well, it didn't just happen just now, but I reported on this years ago. There's a video of me from like 2019 on stage talking about the machine that can now read your dreams and then show a video of your dreams in sequence. It will show you a replay of your dreams. Okay? You know, and so this machine, this technology actually exists. It's not wired into your body. They're not plugging you into anything. There's nothing even touching the sleeper's head or skull. What's happening is they are transmitting this image, this information via light waves encoded with command codes or data. That data is being picked up by a receiver, and then it's building an actual collage of your dreams. So now we're talking about, what's that movie that came out with Tom Cruise, where they had the future crime, right? Minority Report. We're talking about the fact that Minority Report actually exists. This technology exists now, the same from that movie. They can do pre-crime in the future, where they can tell if you're going to commit a crime before you commit a crime and then come arrest you. But the fact, what I'm trying to beat into your head is we are transmitting this information. So what does that mean, that we're transmitting this information? We're transmitting to the universe 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We just happen to develop some technological pieces that can capture what we are already transmitting. It's already going out. We're capturing it. We found a way to encapsulate it and put it into a machine so we can analyze it. Take away the machine, it doesn't stop the fact that we are transmitting. You are transmitting all the time. What are you transmitting to the universe? What are you sending out there? What are your command codes? That's the important point I'm trying to make here. What are your command codes? You have to realize and understand that we're living in an actual matrix, a matrix of light that runs off of programming codes. It doesn't take away from divinity. It doesn't take away from spirituality. It doesn't take away from any of that. It doesn't mean you're not real. What it means is this: we're living in a creation, just as the Bible states, and the Aboriginals, and the tribes of the North Americas, and all the indigenous peoples from all around the world, the Mayans and the Bolivians and everyone else, the Aztecs. We are living in a creation. That's an absolute fact. And what I'm telling you is that through quantum physics and supersymmetry studies, we've discovered that we're living in a matrix of light. And that light matrix that we're in, that we're fully encoded in, is actually running off of a specific type of a program code called error correcting codes. The same error correcting codes, as a matter of fact, that are used in search engines and web browsers. So the same codes that run your internet browser and your cell phone mobile devices and search engines like Google are what's controlling the ether of space-time itself. So we're living in a programmed matrix imbued with divine energy. So when you are transmitting those codes, your own codes, out into the ether, you can unknowingly, unwittingly transmit bad commands. Everything in this third dimension is seen as data. We live in a data-based universe. There's two things going on in this universe. One is a data-based universe, and it's a universe based on consumption. Everything in the third density must consume something to continue to thrive. Everything, from stars all the way down to microorganisms. All the way down, if you want to even get down into the quantum field. This is a universe based on consumption. Okay? I don't care what kind of diet you're on. You're going to have to eat something to live, which means that something else has to die for you to live. It doesn't mean it's dead in terms of the energy, because the energy can't die, it can only be transformed. So what we're doing is really in the third dimension is everything is alchemically converted or transformed. Everything. Today, the energy might be in a plant. Tomorrow, that energy might be in a machine. I mean, energy, the atoms were here since the beginning of time of this realm. The energy that's here was here since the beginning of this realm. All it's done is remixed itself over and over again. Okay? But what are your command codes? What are you transmitting to the universe? Because the universe is listening. It's listening to you. It's a server ready to receive an upload. You're sending an upstream, and it's going to take that upstream, and then it's going to decode it. Two things are happening when you think. The first thing that's happening is every thought that transmits from a conscious mind energetically stays out in the grid permanently. We know that through membrane theory or M theory. You have M theory and string theory. People think they're two separate theories. They're not. The M is the membrane, which is what we're encased in. It's all around us, everywhere. You can't get away from it. We're all in the grid. It's an energetic grid that connects everything. The second thing is the strings. The strings are super microscopic vibrating strings that help jingle the illusion of matter into existence. We're living in a musical universe. Everything is frequency and sound, even if you can't hear it. Again, we even have limited ears anyway. If you can hear the strings vibrating, you probably wouldn't even be able to think, because it would be so much noise you'd go crazy. So we can't hear them, but they're there. We know they're there. We know that they're vibrating. Subatomic particles, subatomic strings that are vibrating and helping to create reality collectively with us. So we have that. We know it exists. So what's happening is this light matrix that's coded with programming code is there. Every thought you think goes up into the grid and stays there, but is also decoded. And then guess what? Another program code of information comes right back at you. I'm making this so rudimentary so that you can understand exactly what's happening. So if I'm sitting here thinking, my life sucks, and that's what I'm transmitting, I can't do nothing right, everything's horrible, and that's what I'm transmitting to the universe on a consistent basis, it's taking that upstream from my mind, and it's decoding it from English into what it actually really is, divine energy, and saying, oh, I see what he needs. And then it It's like the same thing as our brain. We have mirror neurons. We have a mirror audio cortex, like we talked about in the hemisync, which I'm going back to shortly. It mirrors what you send it. So it takes your command codes and it says, oh, this is what he's commanding us to do. So we will send back, boom, a reflection. And then guess what? Your life will suck. Guess what? You will be no good. Guess what? Everything is falling apart. It's going to fall apart because you commanded it to be, even though you might not have spoken it, even though you didn't run around gossiping and telling people all your problems. It could be what you're thinking that's destroying you. It can be what you are thinking.